Hello, everyone. This is Truby Chiaviello again. I'm publisher and editor of Primo magazine. I'm coming with you with another episode of News from an Italian American Perspective. That's right. The big news is outside politics and current events, actually. The news is movies, films. The Pope's Exorcist is the title of the film. It was released last month on April 14th. And it's the buzz of all of the horror fans out there. If you go on the social media sites and go to their pages and their groups, it's quite often the topic that people talk about. So I thought today would be interesting for me to talk about the film. I saw it last night. I can give you a review of it. Today's date's May 7th, and here in the District of Columbia, it's a beautiful day, and it's a great day to go out. But I'm going to be inside to talk to you all about the Pope's Exorcist. Now, if you like this video, please like it and please subscribe. I love subscribers because something like this is really appropriate for YouTube and the YouTube video, because it's something that we probably wouldn't include in a print edition of Primo because it's between the two print cycles. And since it's movies, it's film, it's moving images, I think it's more conducive to a YouTube presentation. So, please subscribe. And please like it if you can. If you have comments to make, please make them. I'll answer all my comments that people leave, and please do so. But the Pope's Exorcist is important for me and for Primo because it's based on the life. I shouldn't say it's based on life. It's based on Father Gabriele Amorth, and the movie is based on two books that he wrote. One is called An Exorcist Tells the Story in 1999, that was written by Father Amorth. And then it's An Exorcist More Stories, which was a follow-up of that book. And Father Amorth wrote that in 2002. Now, back in 2017, William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, was releasing a documentary that he made on Father Amorth. And it was called The Devil and Father Amorth. And he was the chief exorcist of the Vatican. Father Amorth was born May 1st, 1925. And in 2016, he's almost 91, and he's performing an exorcism. And William Friedkin was invited with a small camera to depict it, to show it. And it was a woman, an Italian woman, who was claimed to be possessed by demons. And Father Amorth was there to try to exorcise her. And you see him praying with the rosary beads, the crucifix. She was there in a room that they had in the Society of St. Paul in Rome. Now, that film was released in 2017. On the day it was released, it was going to be at that night here in the District of Columbia. I, Reem Norella, the associate publisher, along with a bunch of other journalists from the community, were invited by William Friedkin to tour Georgetown University, where many shots were filmed for The Exorcist. That was done back when 1973. And then he took you around that area right outside the campus of Georgetown to show some other sites, show some other locales and landmarks of the film. And then that night, we went to go see the premiere of The Devil and Father Amorth. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to look at the Pope's Exorcist, review it, and give you some insight. Now, Father Gabriele Amorth, he entered the priesthood in 1954. But before that, before he became a priest, he was a fighter for the Italian partisans against the fascists and the Nazis. And then after that, he got into politics. He was a writer. I think he was a lawyer at the time also. And he befriended Giulio Andreotti. He was his deputy and his key advisor. And Andreotti was a key member of Italy's politics, particularly in the 1970s and 1980s. He served as prime minister on several governments there in Italy. And along with Andreotti, Father Amorth and some others formed the Christian Democrats political party. So he was a significant man in politics and communications. Well, he became, in 1954, when he ended the priesthood, he did so with the Order of St. Paul. the Paulines. And this was an order that was founded back in 1914 in Alba, Piemonte, by Father Giacomo Alberioni. And this was done by pontifical right. In other words, they took their orders directly from the Vatican, not by the right of diocese, which would be by the bishop. So when Father Amorth is part of this order of priests, when he starts performing exorcisms, he's doing it for the Pope, hence the title, the Pope's Exorcist. Now, in 1986, he was formally given the title the Chief Exorcist for the Vatican. And Father Amorth originally came from Medina in Emilia-Romagna, and he was there with another priest. His name was Candido Armentini, and together they were performing exorcisms. Armentini had been the chief exorcist, and then he was replaced by Father Amorth in 1986. In 1990, Father Amorth founded the International Association of Exorcists. That's an organization that's still alive and well today. He was president of that organization for 10 years. They've gathered together for conferences, exchange ideas, and exchange experiences. Now, he's said to have performed 50,000 exorcisms, and people couldn't believe that number. It's just too many, of course. But he said that a person can be possessed by hundreds of demons at once. So when he expelled the demons, he was expelling many. And he said that only 94 cases that he had experienced over the years were actual full possessions. Other cases were partial possessions, I guess, and some were just mentally disturbed people that they discovered during the cycle of exorcism. That's indicative of the movie The Devil and Father Amorth, because he's trying to expel a demon from a woman, and she goes to this yelling and screaming when they're trying to eliminate the demon from her. But after that, she's going about, she's working, she's going to the grocery store, she's living her life, all the while possessed by a demon. But I guess that was like a partial possession. So the Pope's Exorcist is taken from a real life Italian priest, and liberties are going to be taken. I think the most noticeable is who plays Father Amorth. That's none other than Russell Crowe. You couldn't get more different. Here is Father Amorth. He was famous for his entirely bald head, thin, kind of emaciated looking. And here's Russell Crowe, a lot heavier, of course, a lot more hair on his head, good for him, and a big long beard. And he's playing Father Amorth. I think he did a pretty good job for the most part. He's a good actor, but did he look like the character? No, not at all. In the first scene of the film, it's reminiscent of the Book of Mark and the Book of Matthew. He's there in an Italian village inside this small home, and this young man is possessed by a demon. He expels the demon into a pig, and the pig is killed. And that's reminiscent of when Christ, confronted somebody who had been possessed by legion, a group of demons. Christ expels them into a group of pigs. They run down a hill, and they drown in the lake. Fantastic. Anyway, that's part of that story. And this is typical of this film. This film kind of takes a lot of stories and puts them together in one central plot. I don't know, and I'm doubtful that the actual story occurred from the books that Father Amorth wrote, because it's too reminiscent of other stories. For instance, the Pope calls Father Amorth, and this is another liberty that's taken. This is 1986. It's Pope John Paul II, right? Well, no. In the film, it's an Italian Pope. He doesn't have a name, and it's played by Franco Nero. How different can you get from Franco Nero to Pope John Paul II? But there is a case in Spain that he wants Father Amorth to go and travel to. There's a boy there that's possessed by a demon. And so this story is reminiscent of The Exorcist because it's a woman, mother of two children. That's Julia, played by actress Alex Esso. And these actors and actresses, I didn't know any of them really, besides Russell Crowe and Franco Nero. But she has two children. One is Amy, a teenage girl. She's, rebellious, discontented, a little bit rude to her mother. And she's played by Laurel Marsden. And then her son, Henry, I guess he's 7 or 8 years old. He's played by actor Peter DeSuzu Fehoni. And he can't speak because he was in a car the year prior or so with his father. They got into a car accident, and that traumatic event has affected him. Father is dead. He's left in his inheritance and estate. And that's the Spanish Abbey, this huge Spanish Gothic structure. And the mother is going to bring her two kids and oversee the restoration of the building and the grounds, and then sell it. But it's there that the boy is possessed by a demon, and the Pope tells Father Amorth that this abbey has been problematic over the years. So there's some things that have happened there in its history that's troubling, and the Pope doesn't know exactly what it is, but he's going to try to research it at his end while Father Amorth goes to Spain. Now, here's another critique I have of the film. They had some good elements to the film, and if they're just kept with some of the serious aspects of it, I think it would have been a lot better. But they decided to Americanize things, pop culturalize things to try to make it appeal to the youth, one of which was the Pope. One of which was Father Amorth. How does he get from one place to the next? Not by taxi, not by car, not by walking, by Vespa. He's there on a Vespa. And he's got a pair of cool-looking sunglasses. He's got this huge frock, of course, and this black fedora hat. And he's driving all over the place in Rome. And then when they send him to Spain, you got it, there on the Vespa, going over this highway, over the Pyrenees, I guess, into Spain, after France, to get to this abbey. Now, the mother had called a parish priest to try and expel the demons. The younger priest, his name is Father Escobar. That's portrayed by actor Daniel Zovato. And he goes in to try and get the demon out of the kid, and he's thrown across the room. He can't do anything, and he's got to call in Father Amorth. And that's how you get this situation. So it's reminiscent of The Exorcist, right? You had Jason Miller play the young priest Karras. He's the first one to try to confront Regan, who was played by Linda Blair in the movie. He can't get the job done, so he calls in Father Marin, played by Max von Sydow, who was this veteran priest of exorcisms. And that's kind of what they take here with Father Amorth. Now, this film, instead of using a girl who was possessed by the demon, they use a boy. And this is reminiscent of the original case that The Exorcist was based on. Now, The Exorcist was published was originally a novel, written by William Blatty. He'd been a screenwriter in Hollywood and so forth. And then it was made into a movie in 1973. Now, the original story was, and I've done some research about it, it took place depending on whoever is writing about it, either in Mount Rainier or Cottage City, which is right over the border of the District of Columbia. And this occurred in 1949. And it wasn't a girl that The Exorcist had shown. It was a boy, and he was about 14 years old. And disturbances in the house had occurred. He lived there with his parents and his grandmother. And his favorite relative was his Aunt Harriet. And she had a Ouija board. And she showed him how to perform the Ouija protocol. And when she died, he tried to reach her through the Ouija board. And according to some experts, when you do things like that, when you try to speak to the dead or try to reach the dead in certain demonology and and these kinds of things, the devil and the demons can come and possess you. And so, the house, they heard noises all the time on the walls. The kid was, he was having difficulty concentrating. He was complaining that there was footsteps underneath his bed. So there were Lutherans, and they called in a Lutheran minister to check out the kid. And he brought him home to his house to watch him when he slept. And sure enough, the boy's sleeping on this love seat, and it starts moving. So he called in. This is beyond what they do, and he calls in the priests, Jesuit priests, try and deal with the child and exorcise the demons. Now it was the same situation. He had a younger priest, and he tried it. His effort failed. He called in a priest with more experience, but the possessions occurred. The dispossessions, I should say, the exorcism occurred at Georgetown Hospital. They had to tie the boy up and try to get the demons out of him. His name was Robbie Mannheim, and the experience was published in the Washington Post by an anonymous writer. People believe it was a Lutheran minister that wrote the article. And then he was born on June 1st, 1935, and he died on May 10th, 2020. And his identity was finally revealed, and his name was Ronald Edwin Onkelos, I think is how he pronounced his last name, Onkelos. And so that story is what William Blatty had heard about when he was getting an English degree at Georgetown University. When we actually went to the classroom where one of the priests had told him about what was going on. It must have been right. He must have been attending the school at the same time when this exorcism was occurring. And so it was based upon that experience, that knowledge, that he wrote The Exorcist. But he just changed the key character from a boy to a girl. Well, in the Pope's Exorcist, it's a boy. They're going back to the original story. So that's kind of what's happening there. And the priests are there trying to exorcise the demon, and they go. They're trying to figure out how to defeat this demon. They need to understand the identity of the demon. And sure enough, they go and they find some sort of well that brings them down to a subterranean type of place underneath the abbey. And that, I felt like those scenes were reminiscent of Indiana Jones, because they're trying to check out the relics and other things. And this is where the climax occurs, and some other things happen there as well. Now, that's where the film goes off in these kinds of tangents. I thought the film was most strong when the demon was trying to use the sins of the priests to defeat them. And they look back at Father Amorth's life. He was a partisan, the Italian army. He was an Italian partisan in World War II. And the group that he was with were all killed. He felt guilty about surviving. And then he also had an experience with a woman. And this is based on the story of Emanuela Orlandi, who was there in Rome and Vatican. She disappeared, a young woman who disappeared. And basically, she had problems. And she was thought to be possessed by demons. He realized that she was mentally disturbed. And so he thought he was above that, because he was an exorcist priest and referred to a doctor or something like that. So it was the sin of pride that he felt most affected by. And so there's a scene there where he and the younger priest are there to confess their sins. And the idea is, with absolution, purity, they can face off with the demon. They did find the identity of the demon, by the way. And the demon's name was Asmodeus, an actual demon. He's supposed to be the general of Satan's army. And this is the figure that they face off against. So I thought that scene where they talk about the mystery of faith, the effects of sin, the need for the sacrament of confession, I thought it was very, very strong, very powerful. And I was hoping that they would continue that kind of line in the film to really give people an understanding of Catholicism and how the sacraments are needed in a case like this, exorcism or something similar. They talk about the sacrament, How often do you get to hear that? But it went into different directions. Kind of went into the Indiana Jones direction, and then it was that climax. You know, a lot of violence, a lot of things happening. You know, the green vial and all kinds of things that you saw in The Exorcist started happening there, and that I thought was where the film suffered the most. It was when they were really delving into the faith and the nature of what Catholicism was all about. I thought was where it was most powerful. There were some other powerful scenes too when they face off against the demon, reciting prayers and some other things. The key to it all was there was also another scene where he talks about the Benedictine medal. But, you know, when's the last time you saw a movie talk about the Benedictine medal, which is based upon Saint Benedict of Nursia, Italy? And that was in the Umbria region. His life, the medallions, if you know anything about them, in the front is a picture of him chiseled there or extracted there. And the other side is just some cross and some other things that are there. And by using that protects you from evil, protects you from curses, protects you from bad health. And that's why he utilizes that when he faces off against the demon. He gives the younger priest the miraculous medal, which is the Saint Mary is there stepping on the serpent, and behind her is the letter M and the cross. And that's when you wear that medal, you're under the protection of the Madonna. And so this is significant. There's a couple of nods towards things too. The film gives a nod to the Latin Rite, the Latin Mass. As you know, the last couple of months we've seen its decimation here, particularly in the United States, where Pope Francis announced that if you wanted to have a Latin Mass at your parish, you had to get permission from the bishops. A lot of bishops aren't giving permission for it. And in this movie, he says, Father Amorth says, that they have to recite the prayers in the Roman Missal in Latin, because Latin has more power than vernacular. So I thought that was like a nod towards the Latin Rite and the Latin Mass. A nod against the cancel culture and the fact that you can't crack jokes about things that might be serious or controversial. There's a scene where the younger priest is offended by what Father Amorth is, excuse me. Man, you need water when it's springtime. But the younger priest is upset with Father Amorth because he has a cynical sense of humor about this experience. And the priest says, oh no, that's good. It's good to crack jokes. It's good to make fun of the situation because the devil does not like humor. So I thought that was significant. There's so many people, as you know, have been canceled out of the social media and culture and what have you because of their brand of comedy, which people take offense to. And so I thought that was a nod to against the cancel culture and all the seriousness of today's day and age. So the film was good acting, good set design. A lot of people were involved in this movie. And it's about an hour and 40 minutes, I think it is. And so it's got some highlights. It's got some powerful scenes. However, I thought that there was too many cliches involved that borrowed too much from too many movies. And I thought it would have been better if they kept on the serious track, which has to do with the Catholic faith and how we face demons and other things in our own lives. So the film is available today. It's still out and about. It's released on April 14th. I think it's at the stage now where you're going to probably see less and less of it at the movie theaters. But in searching the Sony distribution website, they list all the movie theaters all around the country. There seem to be a lot of them that are still showing the film. And if you can't make it to the film, you can stream it. Get a bag of popcorn or something, and maybe a Coke and maybe some candy. You can sit there in your living room and watch it through your computer, your device. Amazon has it, YouTube has it, Apple. It's available everywhere. So that's the Pope's Exorcist. If I had to give it a grade, A being the best, F, of course, being the worst. I would say probably maybe B minus. I could have been, like a lot of these movies nowadays, they could be very, very good, but they just go in different directions. They're trying to do too many things with it, dumb it down, to Americanize it, to make it appealing to pop culture, whatever. You don't need to do that, I think, to make it successful, but this is what they do. They're going to do a sequel, and so I'll watch that, of course, to see what happens. Father Amorth is a fascinating character, and this film was directed by Julius Avery. It was written by Michael Petrone and Ivan Spilotopoulos. Michael Petroni is the man's name. I said Michael Petrone, but Michael Petroni. And it was actually produced by Screen Gems and Loyola Productions, which is part of Loyola University. I hope they get William Friedkin to direct it, because I was wondering what he might do with a film like this. He's close to Father Amorth. He's now in his mid-80s, and he's still doing some projects, actually. So he was actually at one point in time in Milan directing opera, and that's how he got connected with Father Amorth, and that's how he did The Devil and Father Amorth. So it's interesting if he could probably be one of the directors of some of these sequels they want to do. Great idea to do actual sequels and a whole storyline based on Father Amorth's experiences, because he's probably got a bunch of them, and how he went from being a journalist and political operative to the chief exorcist of the Vatican remains one heck of a journey. I do know this about him. He was a protege of Padre Pio, with a lot of time with the saint. And I think that was very important, because Padre Pio was famous for his devotion and for his strong faith. And you're going to need strong faith when you face off against the devil, like Father Amorth had done for so many years. And so with that, the Pope's Exorcist, I hope to have other films coming to you in the future where I can maybe review them and give you some insight. Again, if you like this video, please like it. Please subscribe. And if you have a comment, please leave it here and I will respond. And I look forward to meeting with you again, speaking with you again here from Washington, D.C. Until we meet again, thank you for watching. God bless, and see you soon.